But here we go. Let's read the breaking news. This is all across my timeline. Trump's DOJ launches criminal probe into former New York Magazine writer E. Jean Carroll, who accused him of sexual assault. Okay. So this was one of the Reid Hoffman-funded wenches who's clearly sociopathic, and she's let's frame this up, shall we? How about E. Jean Carroll inside of her cabin? Give me that. Let's go. E. Jean Carroll inside of her cabin. Let me give you. Let's work on the credibility of the witness here, shall we?
I call it the mouse house because some very distinguished mice live here. Kahneman lives in the kitchen. Tversky lives in the bedroom. This is my.
Okay, stop right there. What the hell? What in the Raggedy Ann hell is this? What in the Ronald McEffing Donald is this? I don't. Look at this. This is the Democrats. This was the Democrats went into the whole of the world. There's 9 billion people on Earth. They went into the whole of the universe and they found He-Man, Ozempic, HIV positive He-Man in order to attack Trump. This is the best they could get. They found transitioning Carrot Top. The Elliott pages of Carrot Tops is what they could find to get Trump. This is the most credible. This is the single most credible witness that they could uncover.
Kitchen. Tversky lives in the bedroom. This is my shed. And on that side are the books that most influenced me growing up. On the door are the list of my dogs. Marky, Fortuna de la Spunky, Heidi, Tits, Bloody, and Hepburn. The streams and the rivers were dry. And it so horrified me that I came out and started painting the rocks blue to indicate that there was once a river here. And then after I got done painting the rocks, I just sort of walked over here and then did that tree and then did that tree and then I did this tree. And then
9 billion people on Earth. And this was the best they could come up with. Okay. The other thing is that she also thinks that rape is sexy. This is their star witness. Go.
Don't feel like a victim.
I was not thrown on the ground and ravished, which the word rape carries so many sexual connotations. This was not sexual. It hurt.
Well, I think most people think of rape as it is a violent assault. It is not.
I think most people think of rape as being sexy.
Let's take a short break.
Think of the fantasies.
We're going to take a quick break. If you can stick around, we'll talk.
Okay, so say what you will about Anderson Cooper. He's been doing this for a long time. When Anderson Cooper, who is, he is like, I don't like him, but he understands the business. He understands the business. When he's like, we need to cut the cameras off immediately because this is going so poorly. Nobody wants Donald Trump to be in prison more than Anderson Cooper. When Anderson Cooper's like, this is our star witness, and she's like, rape is sexy. I want it. You got a big problem. And you have a big problem in this country with women who make up accusations against men and they get these huge payouts or they get these hush money because nobody wants to deal with it. There's no truth to these accusations. They ran the same playbook against Kavanaugh. They ran the same playbook against senators, members of Congress, candidates they don't like, Donald Trump, every member of Trump's administration. Pete Hegseth is a good example of this. And it's a playbook that's obviously a lie. And you can tell, you can see it in her face. She's lying. None of these things happened, as Donald Trump says. Not my type. Not my type. Donald Trump, never known Donald Trump to be into,
I came out and started painting.
Ronald McDonald. Never. Does this look like Trump's type? Is that this Pippi, transgender Pippi Longstocking? I don't think you've seen some of the women that Trump's with. He does certainly have an archetype. This is the opposite of that. Well, anyway, she's now going to get completely destroyed. She might be able to live out her fantasies of getting ravaged, through the DOJ. Let's read. The Department of Justice has reportedly launched a criminal investigation into E. Jean Carroll, former New York Magazine writer who accused Donald Trump of sexual assault. The probe is believed to be focused on whether Carroll committed perjury in her civil lawsuits against Trump, claimed he sexually abused and defamed her, New York Times citing a person with direct knowledge of the situation. Prosecutors are specifically looking at a 2022 deposition in which she made, where she claimed that she received no outside funding for her lawsuit. Though it was later revealed that billionaire Reid Hoffman, so he's the fat LinkedIn whale who was on Jeffrey Epstein's island like 50 different times. ALX, surely we have the photo of Reid Hoffman on Jeffrey Epstein's island. You know, if there are people who are guilty of doing nasty things on Epstein's island, if you look through the evidence and you look through the architecture and ecosystem of who was doing what, well, Reid Hoffman's gotta be way up near the top of the list of people that the DOJ should be dragging in order to talk with. Reid Hoffman is a complete and total slob, a degenerate, and somebody who's been funding effectively to get Trump killed. And he said he wanted to get Trump killed. He said at a conference that he wanted the bullet to hit Trump's head. We tried to take him out, is what Reid Hoffman told Peter Thiel at a conference. Peter Thiel saying, you missed. Reid Hoffman saying, we won't miss next time. So Reid Hoffman paid for the legal fees. Look at that. Look at that. Too bad. Inconvenient photo right there. Come to the island. Ranch. Let's play. And this is the PG-13 version of some of the emails that Reid Hoffman sent Jeffrey Epstein. Ooh. Trump's appointed a U.S. attorney for the Northern District of Illinois opened an inquiry as Hoffman and his nonprofit-based Chicago sources claimed, although meanwhile acting Attorney General Todd Blanche is said to have recused himself from the investigation because he was defending Trump during the Carroll case. It turned out that Reid Hoffman, it was later revealed that billionaire Reid Hoffman paid the legal fees and expenses. So she lied. Somebody was bankrolling her. And if you're making enough money and you live out in the middle of the woods with your mice playing Raggedy Ann, then you're probably going to get the payout, right? Federal jury in New York found Trump liable at the time of sexually assaulting Carroll in a dressing room. The jury also found Trump defamed her by saying that the case was a hoax and a lie. You see how this works? You make up a story, you merchandise it to the press, you find a agreeable district like in downtown Manhattan that has agreeable prosecutors that will turn on Trump, that you can get a jury pool that will turn on Trump, and then you get in, let's see here, what is it? Trump asked the Supreme Court to overturn it, pledged to do the same with an $83 million defamation case Carroll won against him. So you're talking hundreds of millions of dollars. In her videotaped 2022 deposition, Carroll told the then Trump attorney Alina Habba that nobody else was paying her legal fees. But 2 weeks before the trial began, Carroll's attorney informed the judge that Trump's lawyer had been secured funding from Hoffman's nonprofit. Even though they insisted that the writer never met or had any conversation with them, it doesn't matter. It's still paying. Okay. Judge Lewis Kaplan then allowed Trump's lawyers to once again question Carroll in a deposition. It's not been made public. When the trial began 2 weeks later, Kaplan said she saw no issues with Carroll's credibility, funding of the case. Well, she lied. It's amazing. Reid Hoffman pays Robert Kaplan to represent E. Jean Carroll against Trump. Reid Hoffman funds Indivisible via Act Blue for their Tesla takedown campaign. After Elon exposes the SPLC funds Charlottesville. Robert Kaplan represents Charlottesville victims. Joe Biden uses Charlottesville as a reason for running for office. Joe Biden appoints Matthew Graves to prosecute January 6th. Matthew Graves and his wife Fatima Graves sits on the Indivisible board. Robert Kaplan and Fatima Graves start Time's Up Legal Defense Fund. Fatima Graves and Indivisible runs the No Kings protest. It's a tangled web. It's all the same people doing the exact same thing. Finally, this woman deserves to be held accountable for falsely accusing President Trump, as should be the people who encouraged her to get away with it, directed it. And E. Jean Carroll, who herself claimed to be a massive Trump fan 15 years ago, appears deranged and sick. She lives with rodents and her cat named Vagina and her dog Tits. She writes stories about what her dog taught her about sex and claimed on TV that rape was sexy, and paints trees blue. This is the Democrats' star witness. E. Jean Carroll says she had to trick the jury by making herself look effable, and she goes on to say that she's glad that it worked from her rodent house. Half-retarded Tim Miller is overtaken with emotions that E. Jean Carroll got away with it. Lock that lying thing up. The star witness for the Democrats. Let's go.
Charge against Donald Trump for this? Why not?
I would find it disrespectful to the women who are down on the border, who are being raped around the clock down there. But for the women down there, and for the women actually around the world.
And it was all fairly playful.
It was charming. It was exciting. Remember what Donald Trump was like in 95, 96. On the counter were these fancy lingerie boxes that they used to have back in the 90s.
Yeah.
You wore lingerie in the 90s, I'll bet, Joy. But he didn't suggest it. He shouted it.
He shouted
lingerie. Lingerie. He may have shouted underwear. Okay.
Were you scared? Were you
angry? I was too panicked to be scared.
Too panicked to be scared, okay.
Totally, and I put my life on the line.
Do you think that you're going... Well, hold on a second. What do you mean you've put your life on the line?
Well, people have told me I have to be careful.
You've gotten death threats.
I am not looking at death threats. I have the idea that I'm going to make him put it on over his pants. That was my idea. Mm-hmm. You see how funny that would be to make him put that on?
Yeah. I guess my question is could there be any DNA on there?
I have no idea. I do not know if the president ejaculated. Have no idea. Lawrence, okay. I wish I had said, I'll tell you my age if you show me your tax returns.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it would have been helpful now.
Well, so I'm holding my handbag like that. The only reason I know I'm holding my handbag is because I discovered it in my hand when I got to the street.
The statement that he said, which he's just made, which is, she's not my type, number one, that was the number one thing.
I love that I'm not his type. I'm an archer. I have bows and arrows, you know. Yeah, fine. I think they're just too, never mind.
I think most people think of rape as it is a violent assault. It is not.
I think most people think of rape as being sexy.
Let's take a short break.
Think of the fantasies.
I'm so sick of this. They need to go down. You need to make examples of people. You need to make examples of liars. This entire sick, diseased temple of you are our political enemy, so we're just going to make up a lie in a district that we know will vote to convict you no matter what, because they don't like you either, and we're going to destroy your life. And they've been running that book since Clarence Thomas or earlier, since Nixon. And we're going to run this op against you. We're going to run an op against the will of the American people. It needs to burn. It needs to come crashing down, and people need to be punished for it. Just the process is the punishment here. By the way, the entire trial can be thrown if it's found that she's been lying the whole time. They could completely toss out. You have a mistrial then. You have a mistrial. She's lying in her depositions. If she's lying before the court, then you get a mistrial.